most important tool that we've got for personal development and growth is the ability to be able to look at ourselves honestly and make some changes. We can read books, we can listen to audios, we can go to conferences, do webinars and seminars as much as we like. We can listen to some really fantastic, great stuff, but still not change. We can think that we know something, but if we don't act on it, then we don't really know it. You might know some people that are what I call personal development junkies that keep on going to things and listening to things, but they never seem to change. We really need to learn how to take what we've been learning and look at ourselves honestly and openly. So here's how the personal growth cycle happens, and it's really important as we're talking about sustainable team growth and for anything else in the business actually. So let's use the example of recruiting a new person. So first of all, we have the experience. We bring the new person into the team, we do whatever we do, and the new person gets whatever results they get. What we need to do next is reflect on what just happened. So we brought someone into the team, we did our training, and the person then went out and did whatever they did. We need to reflect on that. Was there anything that we felt could have been maybe done better? Or was there anything that we did that we actually did really, really well? Once we reflect on it, we're able to draw some conclusions about the effectiveness of what we did. And we can start to plan then the next steps. So next time somebody comes on board into our team, then we'll make these changes. We'll make this part of the training that went fantastically well, we'll do this, this and this to make it even better. The things that maybe could have been done a little bit better to help the new person get off to an even better start, we'll change those steps as well. And then we have the experience again. So the next new person joins and we have the experience with our new insights. And we change the training in however we decided to when we reflected last time. So new person comes on board, we have another experience, and then we reflect on that. And from there we draw conclusions again, plan the next steps, recruit somebody else. And as we do this, we keep on growing. So we're not having the same experience over and over and over again, where somebody comes on board, we do what we do, they get what they get, and then the next time round we do exactly the same thing again. And just keep on doing that. Obviously we can relate this to anything. Bookings. We go and do a party, let's say we don't get any bookings at the party, we don't reflect on it, next time we just do another party in exactly the same way as we did it before, we don't reflect on it, we go back and do another party again in exactly the same way as before. So we're not learning and we're not growing. A lot of people have the same experience hundreds of times over, and it's very frustrating, and actually to me it seems a bit pointless. So reflecting on, if we're talking about the party where we didn't get any bookings, reflecting on it, going through what happened and what we said and what we did, thinking about what we used to do when we were getting better success in the past and whether we're still doing that stuff now, will help us draw conclusions about what to do next time, and it'll help us start to learn and improve as we go. So if you're getting a result that you don't like continually, there are lots of ways of reflecting, and some of the ways that people reflect will be something that sits really well with you that you will really enjoy to use, and other ways you'll not like them at all and they won't be the sort of thing that you enjoy doing. So it's important that you find a way to reflect that suits you. So some of the ways that people use are by using discussion. So just talking about the experience. Maybe this is with an upline, maybe this is with a colleague, someone at the same level as you. You can't do it with somebody below you in the line. It needs to be someone on the same line or above as you. Maybe it's someone that you know who's in another party plan company, not even the same company as you, but someone maybe in a similar level in a different company. Those people are fantastic. You can get so much learning from somebody from a different company. Or it could be just with a friend. But when you talk about things, it gets things out of your head where they're just going round and round in circles like a great big knot, and gets them ordered where you have to think about them logically. So discussion is a great way to reflect. Another thing that a lot of people like to do is journal, so write things down. If you remember science lessons at school and doing experiments, we always wrote down the hypothesis, what we thought would happen. Then we did the experiment and we wrote what did happen, and then we wrote what we learnt. So journaling's no different to that. So journaling takes a little bit of effort because you do have to get your book and sit down and make some time for it, but it can be very enlightening if you do make the time for it. And it can lead to some really strong aha moments. Because when you write, you have to slow your mind down. Talking, we can talk very quickly and our brain can move very quickly when we're talking. But when we're writing, everything has to slow down, and that makes the thoughts have a chance to gel and start to form into something useful for us. Continuous writing is something that you may or may not have tried, and that's where you get a big sheet of paper and you just start writing, and you write anything. It can feel a little bit weird, but you just keep writing. So there is stuff in your brain that's at the back of your brain that hasn't even come to the forefront of it for you to think about. And when you start writing continuously, you'll find that all sorts of things come out. So it means that you sit down and you start writing and your pen does not stop. So maybe you do this for 5 minutes, so you time yourself, or maybe you do it for 3 pages. Whatever it is, it has to be a decent amount of writing, and you just don't allow the pen to stop. So you'll find that a whole lot of rubbish comes out. You'll be writing all sorts of weird and wonderful things, and at some point you might even have nothing to write, but you keep your pen moving. Even if you're drawing circles, it doesn't matter, just keep writing. You might write, oh my goodness, I'm feeling so silly, this is so ridiculous, especially at the beginning of this, but towards the end you'll be quite amazed at how focused your thoughts start becoming. And when you read back over what you've written, once you get past all the rubbish that you've written, you'll find some really good gems in there. It's a way that a lot of people do like to reflect. And I came across this in a book called The Artist's Way, which has some other activities in it that can help with this and also help with creativity. So if you want to go and look that book up, go ahead. Meditation, where we just sit quietly and just relax our brain and think. It's quite amazing how helpful thoughts, solutions to problems, and all sorts of things can just pop up in your head out of nowhere. So meditation could be sitting quietly and just allowing the thoughts to flow, or it could be a bit more active meditation where you're doing something quite repetitive. So it could be going for a walk, could be doing gardening, could be in the shower, something where you're doing something, but it's maybe repetitive or a bit mindless. Those are the times when people have some really incredible ideas, and I think Einstein is the person who spoke about this as an actual way of getting insight into things. So maybe meditation's something, or even just using your time in the shower. While you're having the shower, just letting the thoughts go, and for you to think about a particular thing, like the last person that you brought onto your team or the last party that you did. And drawing is another thing to unlock the creative side, to unlock the less logical side of your brain. Things like continuous writing and drawing can help with that, where you will be using the part of your brain that's not judging, is not logical, but is actually accessing a deeper part of your brain. So the important thing is that reflection needs to be planned for, and you need to put time aside for it. And too often we don't do this. We don't have time, we've got too many other things to do, but I can promise you that if you make time for reflection, you're going to find that it's a massive contributor to your team growth. And if you don't make time for it, it's just simply not going to happen, and you're going to be stuck in this cycle of doing the same thing all the time, having the same experience time after time after time. So when you start seeing the same things happening over and over again, you know that at least now you have to do this. You need to sit down and reflect. You've got to be completely honest when you do this, and you have to think about your assumptions and whether you could be wrong. So your assumption might be that somebody understood something. So you're training a new consultant and you've explained something, they understand it. Maybe you're wrong. Maybe the way that you explain it is not easy for them to understand. Remember that we are people who have been doing this a long time, and for us it's easy. We understand all the jargon, we understand the basics. So we need to constantly think about what are we assuming about the person that we're just taking for granted. So I'm hoping that you're getting that reflection is hugely important as you develop as a leader. And if you're wanting to grow a sustainable, large team, we have to get good at doing this. I like this quote from Confucius. By three methods we may learn wisdom. First, by reflection, which is the noblest. Second, by imitation, which is the easiest. And third, by experience, which is the most bitter. And what I think this means, well, what this means to me, which it could mean something different to everyone, is that by experiencing difficult things, so the same thing over and over again, or some sort of failure, that's really hard, and it can be very difficult to pick yourself up from at times. We can imitate, which means that without really understanding it, we can just copy, which is great, but we don't necessarily understand what we're doing. Or we can reflect, which is the way to get right into the inner parts of ourselves and actually make some really big changes for ourselves. So it's a good idea to get a book that is just for your reflections. We can learn so much from our own experiences, and if we don't take the effort to tap into it, we can miss out on some very important insights. So get a book that's for reflecting, and then think about the following questions just to start off your reflection experience. When you very first joined, what was your experience like? So these are questions that are going to help you with new consultants so that you can make their experience as successful as possible on the way to your sustainable team growth. So what was your experience like? What did your upline do to make you feel excited? What was the training that you received like? What sort of support did you get? What did you find that was really helpful when you first started? And this will be something that you're going to make sure you continue in your business. And what would you like to have happened that didn't happen? And this is something that you'll make sure definitely happens for others that join your team. So we've spent quite a bit of time on reflection today, but it's hugely, hugely important. And once you've had a chance to reflect on these questions, which I hope you'll do right away, because as you know, it's difficult to get to things later, much easier to do them now, reflect on these things and then share them. And as you do that, come up with some ideas that you want to make sure happen for the new consultants that join your team.